Quantum meditation is not simply relaxation, it is a doorway to a completely different operating system of consciousness. As the brain shifts from its habitual beta rhythm, associated with everyday thinking and alertness, into slower alpha and theta waves, a powerful transformation begins. These frequencies are not just neurological signatures, they are energetic keys. In alpha, the mind quiets, awareness expands. In theta, the inner world takes precedence over the outer, and the veil between thought and reality grows thin. At these frequencies, measurable through EEG technology, the neocortex loosens its grip, and the subconscious rises to the surface. This is not fantasy. Neuroscientific studies show that theta rhythms are associated with states of creativity, memory reconsolidation, and emotional integration. In this window, the brain becomes highly neuroplastic, open to deep change. You are no longer thinking about the self, you are becoming awareness itself. As the sympathetic nervous system steps down, and parasympathetic activation increases, the body enters a state of homeostasis. Heart rate slows, cortisol decreases, and coherence between heart and brain begins to form. This heart-brain coherence, documented by institutes like HeartMath, creates a state of physiological alignment. But more than that, it's a state of signal clarity, where the heart's electromagnetic field, which extends several feet beyond the body, begins to synchronize with external fields. In this coherent field, intention becomes a force. Studies on intention, such as those by Dr. William Tiller, suggest that focused human consciousness can alter the statistical structure of physical systems. Quantum meditation, then, is not just inner work, it is a participatory act with the quantum field, a field described in physics as a realm of probabilities and wave functions. This field responds not to thoughts alone, but to elevated emotions, gratitude, compassion, awe. These feelings carry coherent electromagnetic signatures that are biologically real and energetically potent. When you generate these feelings in meditation, you are broadcasting into the field. The brain becomes the transmitter, the heart the amplifier. You are no longer localized in space and time. You are becoming a waveform. This is not metaphor, it's consistent with the idea in quantum mechanics that particles exist as potentials until observed. In this altered state, your observation of a new reality, held with conviction and feeling, begins to collapse potentials into probabilities. You are not observing reality, you are creating it. In deep states of stillness, gamma bursts can emerge, high-frequency surges that researchers have found in long-term meditators during moments of transcendence. These gamma waves represent moments of holistic integration, insight, and unitive consciousness. At this level, the boundary between observer and observed dissolves. There is no longer a meditator and the field, there is only coherence. This is the realm where the sense of self fades, where time dilates or vanishes. People often describe the sensation of becoming nothing and everything, an experience consistent with mystical traditions, but now increasingly supported by neuroscience. It is not the mind imagining the field, it is the mind tuning into the field, the same way a radio finds the frequency of a distant signal. And in that signal, in the silence of deep coherence, there is information. There is order. There is possibility. When this level of synchronization is sustained, the body no longer distinguishes between the internal and the external. The perception of separation, between self and world, matter and mind, collapses. You are no longer observing from the body, you are observing from consciousness itself, without the filter of identity. The limbic system quiets, the prefrontal cortex lights up, and the body begins to receive a new biological signature, one that matches the future you are envisioning rather than the past you are remembering. Epigenetics supports this transformation. As demonstrated by researchers like Dr. Bruce Lipton, the environment, and by extension, perception, can regulate gene expression. In a coherent meditative state, the electromagnetic field you produce becomes the environment to which your cells respond. You're no longer trapped in old programs, you're writing new instructions with emotion, focus, and elevated frequency. The mind is no longer a prisoner of the past, it is a compass for the future. And this isn't limited to abstract experience. Advanced meditators have shown measurable changes: increased telomerase activity, reduced inflammation, improved immune response, all physiological reflections of internal alignment. The field changes the body. But the real breakthrough is this: the body becomes a tool of the field. It becomes sensitive to synchronicities, intuitions, quantum information. You don't chase your destiny, you magnetize it. The quantum field does not respond to what we want. It responds to who we are being. In meditation, as thought and emotion coalesce into a coherent state of being, the body becomes an antenna, a living receiver tuned to a new reality. This is where change happens, not through effort, but through surrender. Not by pushing matter, but by aligning with energy. This is why the ancient mystics and modern scientists converge on the same principle: where your attention goes, energy flows. In quantum terms, observation collapses probability into actuality. In meditative terms, sustained elevated focus carves new neural pathways and entrains the heart and brain to emit signals of order, not chaos. The self becomes entrained to the signal of the cosmos. You begin to live not from memory, but from vision. In this space, the past no longer defines you. The trauma no longer owns you. The identity constructed from survival begins to melt into one formed by coherence, creativity, and connection. And what emerges is not a better version of who you were, but a fundamentally new configuration of consciousness. As you linger in this elevated space, something extraordinary occurs. The body begins to believe the future is happening now. The brain, flooded with new imagery and feeling, rewires itself to match this internal reality. Neurons that fire together begin to wire together, creating a new map of identity, not anchored in the past, but in a future yet unseen. And the body, the servant of the mind, obeys this new blueprint. It begins to metabolize the chemical signatures of peace, joy, wholeness, even in the absence of external cause. You are no longer reacting to life. You are signaling to life. In quantum meditation, you're not visualizing your future like a daydreamer, you're embodying it as if it already exists. And the field, intelligent and holographic, reflects back this signal through what we call synchronicities. These are not coincidences. They are informational echoes. They are the feedback loop of a conscious universe responding to coherence. This is why the ancients spoke of becoming one with the divine, and modern physics speaks of non-locality. The field is not out there, it is entangled with us. Consciousness does not emerge from the brain is a receiver for consciousness. And when you tune your brain and heart into the harmonic resonance of gratitude, love, and presence, you access bandwidths of reality that are inaccessible to incoherence. In this elevated state, the intuitive faculties sharpen. Ideas arrive fully formed. Emotions clarify. Decisions make themselves. You are no longer thinking, you are knowing. And this knowing is not analytical, it is direct, experiential, cellular. The body becomes a vessel for insight. The heart becomes a compass. Life begins to organize itself around your new frequency, because you have become the field. There is no longer a need to seek. You don't need to get anywhere, because in this state, you are already connected to everything. You are the thought before it becomes form. You are the stillness before the wave. You are the presence before time. And it is from this place, this sacred still point, that true transformation begins. In this sacred stillness, time stretches. Seconds feel like hours. Sometimes, time disappears altogether. This timeless realm is not just a poetic idea, it aligns with what quantum physicists describe as the nonlinearity of reality at the subatomic scale. In this space beyond clocks, beyond the conditioned mind, the future isn't ahead of you, it's here, now, encoded in the frequency you emit. You are no longer linear. You are multidimensional. The pineal gland, long regarded as a mystical organ by ancient traditions, becomes electrically active in deep states of meditation. As cerebrospinal fluid pulses upward through breath and intention, piezoelectric crystals in the pineal vibrate, producing a measurable electromagnetic signal. This signal, coherent and high frequency, acts like a radio tower, tuning into the invisible, transmitting into the unknown. This is why, in these moments, people see visions. Not hallucinations, but encoded information. Archetypes. Languages of energy. Fractals. Beings of light. These experiences, though ineffable, are consistent across cultures and centuries. They are not random. They are resonances, frequencies that emerge when the observer merges with the observed. In neuroscience, they call this cross-frequency coupling. In consciousness, we call it revelation. The veil between inner and outer dissolves. You no longer feel the boundary of your skin. You sense yourself as energy, as vibration, as presence without location. And in this expanded state, healing can occur. Not because you've fixed the body, but because you've removed the interference. You've restored the blueprint. Every cell, every atom begins to remember what it means to be whole. And that wholeness? It's not something you achieve. It's something you return to. It was always there, beneath the noise of the personality, beneath the stories of the past. Meditation doesn't create the divine, it reveals it. The quantum field doesn't make you whole, it reflects your wholeness when you remember who you truly are. You rise from the meditation different. Not because your life has changed, but because you have. And that inner shift alters your electromagnetic signature. You become more visible to the field. Opportunities align. People appear. Doors open. Not by chance, but by resonance. The world begins to reflect back what you've already become inside. This is the quantum mirror, a principle observed not only in metaphysical teachings, but echoed in the observer effect of quantum mechanics. Reality conforms to the expectations of the observer. But in meditation, you are not observing through the lens of lack or limitation. You are observing from fullness, from coherence, from a place where the future is already alive in you. And that changes everything. You're no longer trying to attract, you are becoming magnetic. Your energy field carries encoded information, a new signal that communicates with the field beyond words, beyond thoughts. This signal is not generated through effort. It's generated through alignment. Through surrender. Through repeatedly returning to the seat of inner stillness until it becomes your new baseline. In this new baseline, your nervous system is no longer wired for survival. It's wired for creation. The amygdala, the ancient sentinel of fear, no longer dictates your reactions. The prefrontal cortex takes the lead, guiding you with intention, vision, and intuition. Your biology shifts from protection to growth, from defense to expansion. And expansion is natural to consciousness. Just as the universe is still expanding from a single point of origin, so too does the human mind yearn to stretch beyond its limits. Meditation becomes the inner Big Bang, a controlled collapse of ego, followed by an explosion of awareness. What emerges is not a better version of the self, but the awareness that the self was always a construct. That behind the thoughts, behind the name, behind the story, there is only awareness. Infinite. Silent. Alive. This awareness is not empty. It is saturated with intelligence. It knows what to heal. It knows what to release. It knows how to guide you if you're willing to listen. But listening requires presence. It requires you to become so still inside that you can hear the signal beneath the noise. And that signal? It's been calling you your whole life. Quantum meditation is not about escaping reality. It's about rewriting it from the inside out. And every time you sit in stillness, not to get something, but to become someone, you collapse a version of the past and give birth to a version of the future. That's not mysticism. That's physics, consciousness, biology, and intention converging into one unified act. And in that unified act, something sacred awakens, not outside of you, but as you. You are no longer the seeker, you are what was sought. The duality dissolves. You stop striving to manifest, and instead you begin to emanate. The very fabric of your being starts to radiate with coherence, and the quantum field, intelligent, responsive, and entangled with your consciousness, organizes itself around that signal. You don't need to force outcomes. In fact, the more you let go, the more the field responds. Intention sets the course, but surrender opens the gate. The paradox of quantum creation is that you must focus without effort, feel without clinging, envision without control. This is the art of becoming, not through doing, but through being. In this elevated state of being, your electromagnetic signature becomes a harmonic frequency, a vibration that carries information not only about your thoughts, but about your emotions, your beliefs, your truth. The field doesn't read your words, it reads your coherence. That's why pretending doesn't work. You can't fake frequency. You must feel it. Live it. Embody it. This is the power of heart-brain coherence, a measurable, entrained rhythm where your brain's waves and your heart's magnetic field become synchronized, amplifying your signal into the quantum. In this resonance, miracles become probabilities, and probabilities become reality. And yet, the most profound shift isn't external. It's internal. It's the knowing that you are no longer bound by the past, no longer a product of history, but a creator of destiny. It's the felt experience that you are not your body, not your name, not even your mind, but consciousness expressing itself temporarily in form. That realization is the threshold of true freedom. Because once you've touched the field, once you've become the field, nothing is ever the same. You don't react to life, you collaborate with it. You don't fear the unknown, you become the unknown. And from that unknown, infinite versions of you are waiting to be born, not through struggle, but through presence. So every breath in meditation becomes a recalibration. Every heartbeat becomes a drum echoing across dimensions. And every moment spent beyond thought, beyond time, beyond identity, becomes an act of creation. Because in that act of creation, you are no longer limited by matter. You are operating as pure potential, not a reflection of your past, but a signal of a future reality so coherent, so alive, that it begins folding itself into the present moment. This is where healing accelerates, where insight floods in, where synchronicity becomes your language with the universe. And the more you return to this space, the more familiar it becomes. At first, it may feel elusive, like grasping light with your hands. But over time, the body learns the language of coherence. The brain learns how to quiet. The heart learns how to trust. And consciousness, the true you, learns how to stay expanded even with your eyes open. Meditation is no longer something you do. It becomes who you are. You begin walking through the world as a tuning fork, vibrating with calm, clarity, presence. You don't need to speak of transformation, you embody it. Your life becomes the evidence. People around you feel the field you carry. Some are drawn to it, others challenged by it, because you are a living reminder that more is possible. And the field rewards consistency. Not perfection, but devotion. Each time you return to the inner stillness, you carve a path deeper into the unknown. You reinforce a new identity, not based on roles or trauma, but on vision, intuition, and connection to something greater than yourself. You begin to operate from the inside out. This shift reverses the energy flow. Instead of consuming reality, you begin to generate it. You wake up not asking, what will the day bring me? But rather, what will I bring into the day? You're not waiting for a sign, you are the sign. Not chasing alignment, you've become aligned. And this frequency, this version of you, is now entangled with infinite possibilities in the field. From this place, choices change. Not because you force them, but because you've become incompatible with your old self. Habits fall away. Attachments dissolve. Patterns collapse. You are no longer reacting from memory. You are creating from vision. And that vision isn't a fantasy, it's a new electromagnetic imprint being broadcast into the structure of space-time. And as this new electromagnetic imprint radiates outward, it begins to shape the invisible scaffolding of your reality. The field, ever listening, ever responsive, does not judge or delay, it reflects precisely what you are broadcasting, in frequency, in emotion, in intention. And when that signal is stable, elevated, and clear, reality bends to meet it. You begin to notice that life is not happening to you, but through you. You are not separate from the events, people, and moments that unfold, you are entangled with them. This entanglement is not theoretical. It has been demonstrated in quantum experiments that two particles, once connected, remain linked across time and space. So too with consciousness, when your inner state harmonizes with a future event, you become entangled with that timeline. You begin to draw experiences not by effort, but by resonance. You're not making things happen. You're aligning with what has always existed in the quantum field as potential. And this alignment is deeply biological. Studies in neurocardiology show that the heart's electromagnetic field is the most powerful in the body, thousands of times stronger than the brain's. When the heart enters coherence with the brain, their rhythms synchronize, and the signal that leaves your body becomes measurable, ordered, and influential. This coherent signal can alter not only your own physiology but also the energetic environment around you. People feel it. Animals respond to it. Nature reflects it. And something beautiful begins to unfold. The outer world, which once seemed random and chaotic, begins to mirror the intelligence of your inner coherence. Patterns emerge. Synchronicities align. Time seems to stretch and contract around you. And in those moments, there's a felt sense of guidance, as if the universe is whispering, yes. This way. It is in these moments that doubt dissolves. You no longer hope you're connected, you know you are. Not as a belief, but as a biological, emotional, and energetic experience. And that knowing rewires your entire system. The genes of survival deactivate. The chemistry of fear diminishes. Hormones of repair and rejuvenation surge. The body heals, not just because of stillness, but because it is no longer being poisoned by the frequency of separation. And now, even your memory begins to change. You stop identifying with the old stories of pain and limitation. Your brain no longer rehearses the past, it rehearses the future. Neurons fire in new sequences, building the architecture of a self that has already stepped into possibility. The body no longer wakes up in the vibration of what was. It wakes up in the field of what could be, until eventually, that could be becomes what is. This is where real power lies, not in controlling the world, but in mastering the internal state that generates it. You realize that everything you seek already exists, encoded in frequency, waiting for you to become a vibrational match. And meditation is how you tune your instrument. Each breath, a recalibration. Each session, a rehearsal for a new self. And the more time you spend as that self, the one who is whole, grateful, present, and aligned, the less you need to chase anything. Love finds you. Ideas find you. Healing finds you. Because you've become a portal through which the quantum field expresses itself. Not as something outside of you, but as you. Would you like me to continue further into the philosophical and scientific aspects of this transformation? And so, the boundary between science and mysticism dissolves, not through faith, but through experience. In quantum meditation, you don't adopt a belief system, you encounter a truth that is universal, timeless, and deeply personal. It is the truth that the observer and the observed are one. That consciousness does not exist within the body exists within consciousness. And once this becomes your lived reality, you cannot return to the old paradigm of separation. You begin to understand that your body is not a fixed object, it is a pattern of information. A flowing field of energy that responds instantly to the quality of your awareness. The skin is no longer the boundary. The past is no longer the definition. The self is no longer a static identity. It becomes a living interface, a bridge between infinite possibility and the present moment. And here lies the paradox: the more deeply you go within, the more expansive your connection becomes. You begin to feel other people not just emotionally, but electromagnetically. Empathy deepens. Compassion becomes visceral. You sense the coherence, or incoherence, of a room before a word is spoken. Because in the field, all is shared. There are no secrets in coherence. Only vibration, resonance, transparency. And as your signal becomes cleaner, the noise of the world affects you less. You no longer collapse into chaos. You observe it with presence. You remain sovereign, not as a reaction, but as a natural result of your alignment. This is not about control. This is entrainment. Your field becomes so steady, so coherent, that it begins to pull other fields into harmony, not through force, but through frequency. This is the biology of leadership. The physiology of evolution. The energetic signature of transformation. And it's measurable. Functional MRI scans have shown that in deep meditative states, activity in the default mode network, the brain's center of self-referencing, decreases. Meanwhile, regions associated with interconnection, emotion, and insight light up. In these states, time, ego, and fear fade. People report experiencing the world as it is, without filters, rich, alive, vibrating with intelligence. As if nature is whispering its secrets directly into your awareness. This is not imagination. This is expanded perception. And it becomes available when the brain and heart are no longer battling for control, but collaborating, when your inner world becomes so coherent, so vibrant, that the outer world begins to organize around it like iron filings to a magnet. And still deeper, you begin to sense that the quantum field is not just energy, it is awareness. It is presence itself. It responds not only to what you think or feel, but to who you are in essence. And when that essence is aligned with gratitude, love, awe, you begin to participate in the creation of reality from a place of elegance, synchronicity, grace. You don't have to know how it will unfold. That's not your domain. Your job is coherence. The field handles the rest. The more you trust, the more you see. The more you let go, the more flows in. And the deeper your surrender, the more the universe reveals that it was always listening, patiently waiting for you to match the frequency of your highest self. This is quantum meditation. Not an escape from reality, but a return to it, unfiltered, unfragmented, alive with potential. Would you like me to continue even further into this space, touching on consciousness, light, memory, and the architecture of creation? Yes, let us go even deeper, where quantum theory, neurobiology, and metaphysical insight converge into a unified model of consciousness and transformation. At the heart of quantum meditation lies a profound scientific premise, that consciousness is not an emergent property of the brain, but a foundational element of reality itself. This view, once relegated to the fringe, now echoes through the work of leading physicists such as Max Planck, Roger Penrose, and Henry Stapp. Planck, the father of quantum theory, wrote, "I regard consciousness as fundamental. I regard matter as derivative from consciousness. In this light, your awareness is not confined to your skull. It is entangled with the fabric of the cosmos. So what happens when you close your eyes and enter meditation? First, your brain activity begins to shift. From the fast, chaotic beta waves of waking consciousness, associated with stress, analysis, and separation, you gradually descend into alpha and theta waves. These rhythms correspond to states of relaxed focus and deep imagination. Research using EEG, electroencephalography, has shown that in this state, the brain enters phase synchrony, meaning different regions begin to oscillate in harmony. Neural networks that were previously segregated begin to communicate. This creates what neuroscientists call neural coherence. The prefrontal cortex, associated with intention and self-regulation, the limbic system, emotion, and the brainstem, autonomic control, begin to synchronize. In this alignment, a remarkable shift occurs. The brain stops reacting to the outer environment and begins constructing new inner environments, a process known as internally guided neuroplasticity. But the brain is not alone. Simultaneously, the heart enters a state of coherence, a term used in psychophysiology to describe a smooth, sine wave-like pattern in heart rate variability, HRV. Studies from the HeartMath Institute and other labs have demonstrated that when the heart is in this state, it sends coherent signals to the brain via the vagus nerve, enhancing cognition, intuition, and emotional resilience. And here's the critical point: this coherence is not limited to the body. The heart generates the largest electromagnetic field in the body, up to 100 times stronger electrically, and 5,000 times stronger magnetically than the brain's. This field is measurable several feet from the body using magnetometers, and its structure changes based on your emotional state. In a meditative state of gratitude, compassion, or love, the heart's field becomes ordered, rhythmic, and informational. It's not just a feeling, it's a language. And the quantum field, the unified field of information, energy, and potential that underlies all matter, responds to coherent information. This is not metaphor. Quantum field theory, QFT, describes all particles and forces as excitations in underlying fields. When you meditate with coherence, your body, your biofield, becomes a resonant structure capable of coupling with these universal fields. You shift from being a passive participant in the quantum soup to a tuned oscillator within it. Let's take this further. When you combine clear intention, a precise electrical signal from the frontal cortex, with elevated emotion, a strong magnetic signal from the heart, you create what can be considered a quantum hologram, a full-spectrum informational imprint that the field recognizes. This imprint, held long enough, repeated consistently, begins to attract and shape quantum potentials into manifested experiences. It aligns with the mathematical principle of constructive interference, where two coherent waveforms amplify each other. When your inner state matches the frequency of a desired reality, the waves resonate. You don't just imagine the future. You entangle with it. This is supported by the concept of delayed choice quantum erasure and the observer effect in physics. In simple terms, the outcome of a quantum event depends not only on the current measurement, but on the intention and information associated with it. Time, causality, and reality itself appear fluid and responsive under observation, particularly coherent observation. In meditation, then, the observer is not passive. You become a creative agent, not by imposing will on matter, but by becoming energetically compatible with new outcomes. The field doesn't respond to the old you, it responds to the electromagnetic signature of who you're becoming. And this has measurable effects. Studies on long-term meditators have shown increased cortical thickness, enhanced gamma activity, associated with transcendence and compassion, reduced activity in the default mode network, linked to ego and rumination, and improved immune regulation, inflammatory reduction, and gene expression. Even telomerase, the enzyme that protects DNA, has been shown to increase after sustained meditative practice. This is not woo. This is epigenetic empowerment. You are no longer the victim of your biology. You are the signal that instructs it. And all of this points toward a profound conclusion. The universe is not made of things, it is made of relationships. Fields interacting with fields. Patterns nested within patterns. And when you enter deep meditation, you're not escaping reality, you are re-entering it at a more fundamental level. A level where time bends, identity dissolves, and thought becomes causative. You become a living interference pattern of light, memory, coherence, and intention, and reality responds accordingly. Shall I continue even deeper, into the metaphysics of light, wave-particle duality, and the philosophical implications of quantum embodiment? So what, then, is the ultimate destination of quantum meditation? It is not to become more of who you were, it is to transcend who you thought you were. To realize that identity is fluid, time is nonlinear, and that consciousness is not confined to a single point in space, but diffused across a field that remembers, responds, and evolves with you. In the deepest states of coherence, where thought and emotion collapse into pure awareness, you remember a truth more ancient than language. You are not observing the universe. You are the universe, observing itself through the lens of a momentary body. You are not a being within the field, you are the field, focused into form. And meditation is how you remember this. Each time you sit in stillness and enter the quantum, you are not escaping life, you are reclaiming authorship over it. You are stepping out of entropy and into symmetry. Out of reaction and into resonance. And with each breath, you collapse the illusion of separation just a little more, until even the boundaries between science and spirit, brain and cosmos, self and source, fall away. This is not magic. It is the architecture of consciousness learning to sculpt time and space from the inside out. And when you rise from the meditation cushion, eyes open, heart coherent, mind silent, body tuned, you do not return as the same person. You return as a new signal, broadcasting a frequency that invites the quantum field to respond in kind. This is quantum meditation. Not technique. Not escape. But an evolutionary interface between human potential and universal intelligence. A quiet revolution within. And it begins, every time, with a single decision. To sit still. To tune in. And to become the future.